somebody go hit the timer.
Ready?
Welcome to On the Same Page. This is Brenna Butler, and with me today is
Casey Bond.
and we're talking about all the books that we love, and we've read several. We've got several here, Casey. What do you think?
We have a giant book stack plus ebooks to talk about today if we get to them all.
It's a perfect day for reading. Pretty rainy outside, and so we hope we have some great recommendations for you to look forward to. Let's start off with the book that we were on the same page about this month, and that was Bloodleaf by Crystal Smith. This book is a YA fantasy book about a kind of an unwanted heroine and Princess Aurelia. I need to say that right, sorry. It is a retelling of The Goose Girl, which personally that was a story I had never heard before.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with it either.
But basically, she's kind of this unwanted princess. She lives in a kingdom that doesn't allow magic, but she is a witch and has some magic. She does blood magic, which it can get into some dark places that we learn. Very much a plot-driven book.
Yes.
One of those that have a lot of political twists and turns in it. By unwanted, that's almost an understatement.
Yeah.
This girl, nobody likes her. Her people don't like her. Her family doesn't like her. Nobody trusts her. And so she's very much hated in the kingdom.
And even though she's a princess, I would say that her kingdom isn't just ruled by royalty. There's this tribunal, and they make a lot of laws regarding magic and the use of magic. And since she has it, she's in trouble. And at some point, someone tries to basically like kill her, and she has to run away, and she winds up running to a neighboring kingdom where magic is celebrated. So she disguises herself as a commoner there and meets an amazing group of people who accept her for who she is and what she can do, and not only accept it, but they celebrate it.
Well, and I think one of the really cool twists to that too is that once she makes it to that kingdom, she finds that one of her friends, I think she was a cousin, and her brother have come to the kingdom, and the cousin is masquerading as her, pretending to be her.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so she's pretending to be the princess that Aurelia actually is. So there's a lot of different political scheming and things that not only happen, like a lot of books have them happening in the courts, and so this is happening in a whole different scenario. This girl's pretending to be her, and her former best friend is like assuming her life. So that's a lot of drama.
Oh, yeah.
In and of itself. But we have some amazing characters. She meets a boy named Zan, who is swoony, and I loved him. I loved his character, and I loved how their relarelationship develops over time. So.
He's got that just little hint of cockiness.
Yeah, he does.
Casey just so loves.
I love it. I do love it. So I recommend it. I think it's good if you love fantasy or fairy tale retellings. You might, or if magic is your jam, this book might be for you. So.
Great. Casey, what else did you read
I want to talk about Wrong Side of the Storm, since we're talking about cocky fellas.
Okay.
Because my favorite alien ever
big, cockiest
happens to be Mothman. So if you're familiar with the Point Pleasant area, like we've said before, Mothman is a legend that is set in Point Pleasant. He's linked to the collapse of the Silver Bridge, but in Brenna's book, Wrong Side of the Storm, Eric, aka Mothman, is an alien with amazing hair, and he knows it. But he's just amazing. He's the books are fun. Every book is centered around a mystery that unfolds in the area. And this one is fun because you've got the agency, the Men in Black, and their headquarters is attacked while the main character, Bridget, is inside, and Eric is outside, and the attack is amazing. Can I just say that can I tell what it is? They harness storms to attack and try to get the agency to basically self-destruct. And it's so fun because you've got this timeline. They've got to get things done and handled before this base explodes, and with Bridget in it. And our favorite Mothman, Eric, equipped with his awesome drumsticks, which he slays vampires with, has got to save the day. And it's just witty. It's fun. The chapter headings are amazing.
I have a lot of fun with the chapter headings in this series.
I can't say enough about the series and Eric and his awesome hair, which he's very concerned with.
He is very concerned. He falls out of the sky.
Yeah.
Falls out of the sky. He's like, it's fine. My hair's
I'm okay. My
I know
hair
it's
is
messed
okay.
up, but it's okay.
So, what about
yeah.
you?
Me, I read this little beauty, and it's cast by Misty Preventure. And I think we mentioned this in the last episode a little bit. It's very much a magical world. Oh my goodness,
Is
Casey.
it not?
I love
I
this
told
book.
you.
It is one of my all-time favorites by
Yes.
far at this point. It follows Indigo Faye. Indigo is a witch doctor, but
Yeah.
not really what you think of as a witch doctor. In this world, they have. She lives in a village of kind of wizards and witches, people of magical talents. And the village has a witch doctor that is in charge of healing. They sell all the herbs and that kind of thing in the village. They're kind of the doctor of the village. So her father is the current witch doctor, and she's in training to become the next one. And a lot of disturbing things happen in the village without giving too much away. Her father goes missing, and she's forced to step up. So it is a true young adult novel, kind of a coming-of-age novel. She has no clue what she's doing when she's forced to step up, and the adults around really let her know about it. But she's able to kind of weather the storm, figure out why she didn't receive all the training that she was supposed to receive. And it's just a beautifully written.
It is. The
gorgeous.
world building in this book is phenomenal. Like, I have not read a book with this intricate of world building in a long time, as far as like, I mean, it's just beautiful. Even the small details.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just
it
a very
this entrancing picture.
brilliant world.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's very vibrant.
Very much so. And just truly one of my all-time favorite books at this point. It is book 2 in the Cast series. Book 1 would be Forecast, and that's kind of a prequel to this one.
It explains how the world gets started, more or less, and you see some of the magic in that book as well. What I fell in love with Cass was the romance between Rune and Indigo.
Kind of a forbidden love.
Yeah, very much.
Also the friendships.
Yeah.
The friendship you see between her and her best friend Aldersea.
Right.
I think it's a very true relationship to what you see just in contemporary, just today.
Definitely.
If you love forbidden love,
Yep.
if you love friendship stories, just constant action in this as well. It's not just a romance,
Right.
just a beautifully written book.
Yep, definitely. I'd like to talk about Oathbreaker by Audrey Gray. I think we have a graphic of the cover, which is just phenomenal. I actually read an advanced copy
Look
of
at
this
that
book.
cover. It's so gorgeous.
Right? And the second one's just as I mean, it's just phenomenal. I don't know who made the covers, but whoever did that did just a fantastic job. But I literally read this book in 2 days. It captured me, and I just could not wait to skip ahead to the next page and see what came next. So it's fantasy. It's got adventure, high stakes, romance, all the feels that you would want in a good fantasy book. It follows a girl named Haven, who is sort of an outcast in her setting as well. And her best friend is a prince named Bell. And he is he's not a strong, personality. He's sort of tender and just so sweet. And he gets kidnapped out from underneath her feet. She's supposed to be protecting him. And so she's got to go after him. And the world is basically comprised of humans and immortals. And one of the immortals named Archeron and his motley crew decide to take her away from the kingdom and through these very dangerous lands to bring Belle home. So it's just phenomenal. I cannot wait. Book 2, Curse Breaker, comes out August the 12th.
I love the title.
And I'm so excited to see what comes next, because she just painted a very it's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful story. Her pacing is phenomenal. I just felt like I was just running along with her, through the forest.
We give a lot of recommendations in the show, but this is one book that when we arrived here today, Casey said, "Brenna, you are going to love this book.
You're going to want
to
this.
read it." So I'm picking it up as well.
Yeah.
Sounds like a real winner.
Yeah, definitely.
Another book that I read this time was Phoenix Awakened by Heather Karn. That is a romance. I would call it maybe a new adult based on the ages romance, just based on character ages and the mature content within it. It is all about Sparks, who is a dragon. She is a fire dragon,
Nice.
Sparks, and that's a cool name for a fire dragon. In this world, dragons are kind of shapeshifters. Sometimes they appear as humans, sometimes they appear as dragon. Well, in this world has recently come into a big upheaval. There's been a dragon war. There are 4 types of dragons: air dragons, earth dragons, fire dragons, and water dragons. And the water dragons have it out for the fire dragons. The earth dragons have aligned with the water dragons, and so that made them stronger. The earth and water. Air decided to stay neutral, so they stayed out of the war. And so that left fire as the kind of the weaker nation among them all. So this book starts at the end of that war. All the fire dragons are pretty much slaves, but it's a modern society, so they've just got them in they have the worst jobs. They barely get paid, just enough to be able to eat a lot of times and survive. So Sparks finds that she gets a little bit of money in her pocket from a friend, and she's all excited to go buy a jug of milk at the store. And at the store, she's confronted by some water dragons. It all kind of escalates. They're bullying her. It all kind of escalates, and she accidentally kills one of them.
Oh.
So then she goes on the run. And for the most of the story, she goes on the run, but she's found by a phoenix who is in human form. And with the phoenixes, they're just kind of like that the firebird that you see in legend. But in this story, he's in human form until he can ascend to his power. And to do that, part of that is that he has to find his true mate, and he has in her. So
snap.
It is a romance. I'm told by the author that it is a standalone book, so there won't be sequels. But I highly recommend Phoenix Awakened, action-packed with a lot of romance behind it.
Yay, that's awesome. And okay, to keep rolling, I want to talk about The Reverse of Everything by Tara Brown. We have a graphic of the ebook cover, which is beautiful and very much fits the story. If you like dystopian or post-apocalyptic fiction, this one is for you. The concept of this book is really unique. So it opens up, and basically what happens is like everybody over the age of 90 passes away. A week later, everyone over the age of 80 passes away. And no one knows what's going on, or if it's just the end of the world.
That's a really cool premise.
So she, the main character is a teenager, and she is freaking out because she knows she only has a few weeks to live. Like her parents, they're all gonna, within a couple weeks, they're all gonna be gone, and there's just gonna be young people left. And the world, once the 50s kind of die out, everybody sort of throws caution to the wind, and law and order go out the window, and it's very much it's chaos. And so they've heard about this military base in Colorado that they need to get to. Maybe they can survive there, because surviving where they are is just not an option anymore. So it's all about their adventure. There is a small romance that develops along the way. But if you like the feels and you like very much, like I said, post-apocalyptic or dystopian novels, this one's for you. And the concept was brilliant. Tara writes it really well, and I really love the book. So good job, Tara Brown.
Now, she does a lot of dystopian type novels.
She does have a lot of dystopian novels. She writes a little bit of everything. She writes contemporary romance and everything. She does very well. She does very well with the post-apocalyptic and dystopian.
Awesome.
Really love her books.
So, Casey, I don't usually read a lot of romance, but Phoenix Awakened, of course, and then I picked up this one, too. And this is Pax Promise by Julie Treadle. Nice. And something I just normally may not pick up, but I happened to meet Julie at the Roanoke Author Invasion book signing, and was really, when I first heard about her characters, was really intrigued by them. So I picked it up, and it delivered on all her promises.
Nice.
Very good. It follows Karis Begay, and she is a freshman starting college, and she happens to be the next in line to be kind of the first lady of the Alaskan werewolf pack.
Nice.
So she is a werewolf, and it's all about her finding her true mate, which is a guy that's had some difficulty in his life. He's kind of been torn between 2 different packs, didn't really have a home or family. They find out that through the mystical that is a werewolf universe, that they are meant for each other and meant to be mates for life, which means he is going to be the alpha of the Alaskan pack, which is one of the most powerful packs in the world. And so it kind of follows their romance and him accepting that responsibility and getting over the grief that he carries with him.
That's beautiful.
So just very beautiful. It's the first book in the Arc Shifters series. Now, Julie Treadle has several series kind of based in this same werewolf universe. I wrote down a few because I knew I would miss one. The Weston Pack, which is adult romance, and the Collier Pack, which is also adult romance. This one I would classify as new adult romance because it does follow people college age characters.
Awesome.
So,
that sounds really good.
Pack's Promise.
I'd like to talk about An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. I fell in love with this world, this book. The imagery in this book is unlike anything I've read ever. And you know how much I love fantasy. So it's just mind-blowing how she can paint a portrait with words. Margaret is extremely talented at that. But it follows Isabel, who is a talent. She paints portraits, and she's a painter. And she's in this world that is sort of between the human world and the fairy world, and they keep artists there, the fairies do, and pay them with enchantments. So if the human asks for the wrong thing, they might get an enchantment they don't necessarily want. So she's very careful with her words and with her paintings, and she actually paints a portrait of the Prince of Fall, and she paints human emotion in his eyes, which is a big no-no.
Oh.
So he comes to get her, and she's going to face trial. But as he enters his world, does something wrong, and there's things that are like stalking them at every corner, and they have to band together. Just if he doesn't show up with her, he's going to die too. So he's got to get her to this trial, and all these things are trying to kill them along the way. And he realizes there's just something really imbalanced in their world. And over the course of, defying death so many times, they sort of become close, and then they become, very much in love. And it's a slow burn love. This is kind of a long book, so I liked how she, unraveled the love story. The fact that she painted emotions allows the fairies to have human emotion, which is really dangerous because they've never had that before. They're not human.
Oh, so it actually gives them that emotion.
And they become very volatile because human emotion for a fairy is very hard to handle. So it's very unique story. Her next book is called A Sorcery of Thorns, and it's on my Kindle. I pre-ordered it as soon as I read this, so I'll probably be talking about that next time. But it is just an amazing story. If you like things like with the fairy glamour, they make everything look beautiful. But everything they eat is like, when she looks past the glamour, it's like all rotting and decayed. And it's just very much two different worlds, one placed over the other. And she just unweaves that just brilliantly. So I love it.
Great. The next name may be something that you've recognized recently. It's called Good Omens. And I think we have a cover for that here. And this is actually the new cover for it that's based on the new Amazon Prime series. They actually turned it into a limited episode show. This book is written by Neil Gaiman and the late Terry Pratchett. And the show actually stars David Tennant and Michael Sheen. The full title, if you can read it on there, is actually Good Omens, The Nice and Accurate Prophecies of Agnes Nutter Witch. So it's a pretty long title, and that gets to be a joke in the show, too.
I love that.
I actually am a huge Neil Gaiman fan, but somehow missed this book. I don't know how. I didn't come across it at some point. But when I saw the show come out, I watched it, loved it, and wanted to read the book as well. So usually I don't do it in that order. I usually do the book first and then the show, and you never like one. You usually like the book better than the show.
Yeah.
But in this case, Neil actually wrote the adaptation for the series. So I'm finding that the book the series is actually very true to the book.
Yeah.
I mean, just as far as even dialogue, a lot of the dialogue written is actually dialogue from the book itself.
I love that because he knows his characters better than anybody
you
else.
can tell he has a real passion for the story.
Definitely.
Definitely, and it's a really cool story. It's the story of the apocalypse is coming, and an angel, and I'm going to butcher this name. I wrote it down. Let's see, Aziraphale. I know, I probably said, and a demon, which is called Crowley. They team up. They're the two longest living angel and demon on the earth. They've been here since the Garden of Eden. And they come to become quite fond of the earth. And so when the Antichrist is born, they set out to try to make sure it doesn't mean the end of the world. And so there's some typical kind of Neil Gaiman mishaps that happen, really quirky mishaps that happen. It is a narrated book, so don't look for it to be a first person. It is a third person, kind of from this omnipresent narrator, which is something I personally love reading books like that. But it has that typical quirkiness that you would, and imaginativeness that you would see from both of those authors. The book, if you did watch the show and loved it, I would recommend reading the book because it has a lot of extra little details that they just couldn't fit into that format. It's just so good. I can't say enough of it. For example, the four horsemen of the apocalypse are in it, and one of the imaginative parts, how can you reimagine that? Well, it's war, famine, death, and pollution. Pollution because they took over for pestilence when pestilence retired.
Nice.
So, it's a fun read. It is adult literature, but it has a little bit of mature themes in it, but not too much that I don't think it would be inappropriate for teenage readers.
Awesome. That sounds amazing, and I've seen the previews, but I haven't actually got to watch the show yet. So I'm gonna have to do that.
I've never binge shows, and I binged it.
Yeah,
it's only like 6 or 8 episodes.
I got to read the book first, though.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing.
So next, I want to talk about Sky in the Deep. Have you read this?
No, I haven't.
Oh my goodness, girl! I'm just gonna set it up there. If you like Viking warrior women, this book is for you.
I do like Viking warrior women.
Vikings are fun, and so this book follows. I think I'm assuming I'm not butchering her name, Elin. She is a warrior clan of the Aska clan, and their arch rivals are the Riki. And so during this, the book opens up in a battle, and she is with her other women warriors, and they are kicking booty. And all of a sudden, she sees her brother, who died 5 years ago. She watched him die, and he's fighting with the Riki clan against her people. Okay. And she gets hurt. And the Riki rescue her and save her and take her home with them so that she doesn't die. They don't leave her to die. Okay. And so she's got to learn what in the world happened with her brother, why he would turn his back on his people. She's got to learn to fit into a clan that does not like her by nature.
It's always tough to do. It's always tough.
It's always tough. And then she basically falls in love with her brother's best friend.
Oh, no.
Which is interesting in and of itself, because big brothers, little sisters. No. But basically they have to figure out a way to join their clan with the Riki and the Aska come together, because there's a giant legendary clan they didn't really think existed that starts attacking Viking villages, and they slaughter a bunch of the Riki. And so in order to survive, they could either fight separately and be annihilated, or they can fight together and have a chance. So it's just a beautifully written book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I recommend it to anybody who likes those sorts of books. So, yep.
Okay, Sky in the Deep.
Yep.
Casey, there's another one that I read. And this is High Society from Casey Bond, who is right here with us today. This is the third book in her High Stakes series, follows after High Seas. And this one, I guess what period would this be?
It's the colonial era. Yeah, Revolutionary War.
Okay, and the British are coming.
Yeah.
The British are coming.
The British are there.
Some
and
of them
not
are vampires. But I thought one of the unique things about this book is if you've been reading the series, and I'm going into delicate territory and I'm trying not to do any spoilers, but there are 3 vampires, so they're very much the head of our future world. And the whole plot is that 3 assassins have been sent back in time to take care of the problem so that we're all vampire free in the future. But in high society, I think one of the cool things is one of the meanest of those vampires, Asa, you see him in a little different light, but you don't really know why.
Right.
And so most of the book you're thinking, what's he up to? He can't be nice on his own accord. So Enoch is off on his own and doesn't see Eve's arrival at the beginning of this book. And so they spend about half of this book apart.
Yeah.
And she's left with Asa, and he's just acting strangely nice.
Which is never a good thing.
So high society, full of more Casey Bond fun, twists and turns that you do not see coming. This whole series, Casey, has just been amazing, and I want to throw up a couple of the other books. This is High Seas and High Stakes. By the way, gorgeous covers, but you know my favorite color is purple, so this High Society one. High Noon is coming out soon, which will be the
comes
4th
out Friday.
book. Friday.
Yep.
This Friday, which would be
the 7th.
June the 7th. Yep. Sorry, I can't count up
Yeah.
on my hands, but June the 7th, for those watching this program a little bit later, so you know that's coming out soon. So
I'm
very
excited.
Quickly been writing these.
Yeah, and
Casey.
High Treason will be out in July. I don't have
and
a
then High
firm
Treason
date.
is going to be the last
Yep.
one in the series? Okay.
Last book.
All right. Is it done?
It is
drafted?
it is with my editor.
Ooh. So very soon you will see the conclusion to the series full of mystery and intrigue. Just really, really enjoyed it, Casey.
Thank you. So, do you have another one to speak about? Or?
I do, but I have some books that that you probably see here on the table that I'm going to bring back another time. I do want to mention that for next time, we are going to be on the same page about The Devouring Gray by Christine Lynn Herman. And that's one that we both saw and really intrigued us, kind of a dark mystery in this small town.
Yeah.
With a beast in the woods that they're
you,
trying to
you showed me the
protect
cover,
the
and I was
town
like, yes.
I've been looking at
Let's
it
do
for a
it.
while, maybe. Want to give a shout out to a book signing event coming up very soon that Casey and I will both be at. That's Once Upon a Book in Frankenmuth, Michigan. That's coming up in July. Please take a look. Tickets are currently on Eventbrite for that.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's set in this hotel that looks like it's like a German village almost.
You know,
doesn't
I've
it?
often
Isn't it pretty?
wondered. There's a National Lampoon vacation movie where they stay in a hotel. That almost, and I've often wondered if it was shot at that hotel.
It might have been. It's
about
beautiful.
like that Bavarian style hotel.
It's very pretty.
So I think we're about out of time for today, Casey. You have any last thoughts?
As far as what I might read next time, in addition to The Devouring Gray, is A Touch of Gold. It's based on the King Midas.
Oh, yeah.
It's his daughter. So
next time
fun.
I am going to gush about The Princess and the Fangirl. That's what I didn't get to this time, and one I really liked.
And
so.
Rachel Kane.
Rachel Kane, yes. Oh my goodness.
That's awesome.
I didn't have time to talk about that. It's going to be a while.
That's awesome. And The Sorcery of Thorns as well. And then I'm looking at A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which is another fairy tale retelling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. We're out of time for today. This was On the Same Page with Brenna Butler and Casey Bond. See you later.